Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. Cheaters should sanitize. It's been long enough that I'm moved past this and enjoy this sub, so decided to share. Some of you may hate this or say it goes too far, but 6+ years later I still love my friend for it. In 2014 I got back together with my first BF from HS. I had a daughter who was about 1 when we got back together. Making this a short story, I ended up in a job making over 4-5k a year, very significant in my Midwest area, and agreed to paying about 80 to 85% of shared costs along with paying for his phone/plan myself because he refused to pay for anything but a track phone and bitch when I'd call/text as it wasted his money. Since he would have my daughter at times while I was at work, I wasn't comfortable with him not having a phone and he refused to answer the home phone. In July 2016 I tried to break up with him. We hadn't had regular sex in over half the time we were together, never talked/hung out, we were just roommates. He broke down and begged me to stay with him. Please don't take this away from him. I, stupidly, stayed. March 2017 he ends things with me and I'm hurt but really just relieved. We agree to finish the lease amicably and all is well until a few weeks later when I come home early and meet Mia, his co-worker. Keep in mind, even after I bought and paid for his phone he never talked to me on it and insisted he just hated doing so. My daughter seemed to know her really well already. We continue to slow pack for the move at the end of June and I decide it's finally time to go pack up my third/spare bedroom used for storage. I never went in there because no need to. Mattress and sex toys everywhere. Butt plugs, anal lube, you name it. I'm asexual, it's me not you for years. I check my billing history. 10k and texts to her number monthly since September. I called my friend crying that I could have been so stupid and she came over immediately to console me. After some hugs she stormed upstairs, took out her hand sanitizer, and shook up all there was left into the anal lube. He needs to wash his dirty stinky ass dick. I actually ended up calling his mother and telling her he needed to leave that week and either return his iPhone or pay for it, and then every one of us went NC, so I don't know that anything actually happened, but I can only assume one of them felt something less pleasant the next time that lube was used. Story 2. Refuse my mother entry to your horse track, don't expect access to our personal road. TL, DR at the bottom, sorry for the text wall. Writing this on mobile. My granddad used to own a piece of land next to a horse racetrack. Their land almost surrounded my granddad's except for him having access to a heavily trafficked public road. The racetrack was laid out in such a way that their exercise track was placed north of my granddad's land while the main track with a stadium was placed to the south. Way back when the racetrack was built they had asked my granddad if they could transport their horses across his land. There was already a maintenance road in place and as they only moved their horses he didn't really mind as they also supported the local village. As a small thank you for this they allowed him and his guest to watch the races for free. Normally it cost around $5 in our local currency, not that much, but it allowed him to take me and all my cousins to watch the horses for free. Anyhow, fast forward a couple of years and my granddad passed away. My mother, who inherited the land, tried to bring her grandchild, my niece, to the racetrack to see the horses just as my granddad used to. At the counter she is told that she has to pay for admission, not really that big of a deal as she thought that they didn't know that she now owned the land. Afterwards, however, when she writes to the track to rectify the situation they tell her that she won't be admission free as it was a one-time deal they had struck with my granddad that now was off. Enter the petty revenge. A few months later, when we had planned to cut down some of the trees for lumber, my mother told the contractors to accidentally leave 1 or 2 logs across the maintenance road. The racetrack, now having to load their horses on trolleys as they had to use the busy public road instead of our maintenance one, almost immediately sent an email to my mother apologizing and offering her that same deal as my granddad had received, if we would remove the logs. She only informed them that the one-time deal they had struck with my granddad was off. In the end, after some wrangling, we ended up with a deal where they now have to pay my mother around $400 every month in addition to her and her guests having free admission. TL, Dr. Racetrack refuses my mother the same deal as they had with my granddad. She refuses them the right to access her road. Story 3. Can't ride a bike, don't sign up for a bike tour. TL/Dr. guy brings his wife, who cannot ride, on my bike tour. I cost him several thousand euros. I used to be a bicycle tour guide in Amsterdam, and the amount of people who don't know how to ride, yet still come, is astonishing, /10%. It was so bad that I would personally ask every single person if they knew how to ride before the tour, but they would all lie. If you haven't been to Amsterdam, the bicycle is the predominant vehicle used by residents to get anywhere in the city. And, because of this, there is incredibly well thought out infrastructure set up for this. Separate bike lanes, dedicated lights for bikes, good parking availability, etc. And, this also means that all the locals are very good cyclists, and generally not too forgiving of tourists clogging up the roads and getting in their way. One day, I had a couple show up wearing full touring outfits. Lycra, helmets with mirrors, etc. I was chatting with them before the tour and was told that the guy owns a bicycle shop back in his home country and wanted to get some pictures for his shop. I double-checked that they could ride, and was assured that it was not an issue. So, I begin my safety briefing, get everyone set up with their bike, and we begin. As we get to the first corner, I look back and see that the guy's wife is having serious trouble with her bike. I instruct the group to wait for me at the corner, go back to see what the problem is, and she just cannot ride. I asked her when the last time she rode was and was informed that it was 30+ years ago. I politely ask if she really wants to do the tour, and she's really not interested. She is just doing it for her husband. LOL. I tell her that her ride is over, there is no way it's safe for her to come along. We'll refund her the ticket cost, and we'll be back in about 3.5 hours. She asks what is in the area for her to do while we're gone. And this is where I get a little idea. I ask her if she has her credit cards with her, and direct her to PC. Hoofdstraat, which is just a few blocks away. This is basically the rodeo drive of Amsterdam. Gucci, Fendi, etc. All the serious designer stores. So, we continue our ride without her, get back to the shop, and this lady is sitting outside on a bench surrounded by a small mountain of shopping bags. Had to be many thousands of euros worth of stuff. I look back at her husband whose eyes are bulging as he reads the names on the bags, and is calculating how much money was just spent. Moral of the story, don't bring people who cannot ride on my bike tour. Story 4. My namesakes are loser idiots. A long time ago, when Hotmail launched the COUK accounts, I was delighted to get first name last name at Hotmail COUK, obviously my name is in it. Problem is at least 2 other namesakes over the last decade have repeatedly gave my email out as their own and I get all their juicy email replies. It's mainly debt. Why are my namesakes such idiots financially? So I read and enjoy their suffering, replying to the person they own so their business doesn't suffer if it's a large amount, but mainly watching people chase them for 30 here and there. I did once inform one of them and was rewarded with "get the fuck out of my business." So life is just a Kermit drinking iced tea meme. I could reply with a tirade of abuse to the debt collectors etc., but then that'd be number malicious revenge. Story 5. CA final paycheck. I used to work for a company that was very poorly managed financially. The owner had a vacation home he was building and would often pay from the company's account and not have enough to pay employees. We would always get paid, but it would usually take a few weeks for a project to be finished, the client to pay, and the money be paid back. For many people this cost a lot in late fees and more. At one point a coworker found a new job. He knew that in California the employer has 3 days to give you a final paycheck, and he also knew some of the company's financials. He planned his departure just after the owner took a large amount for a payment he needed to make on his vacation home. He quit and asked for his final paycheck. The owner didn't have the money, so he had to wait. He started his new job, but kept on the owner for his final paycheck. When he finally got it a little over a month later, he reminded the owner that for every day he doesn't get his final paycheck, the employer is required to pay a full day's pay by California law. He ended up getting a full month's pay. I think a month is the limit, for quitting and starting a new job. It sucked for some of the other employees who didn't get full paychecks because of it, but I applaud his ingenuity. Be the first to comment. Nobody's responded to this post yet. Add your thoughts and get the conversation going. Story 6. Smack your coins on the counter when I have my hand out, I'll return the favor. This isn't about one person specifically, but customers in general. I'm a cashier, and whenever it comes time for people to hand me money, they generally hand it to me in my hand. But sometimes I get those people who just put it on the counter when I have my hand out for them to hand it to me. Worst ones are when they have coins too and I have my hand out again and they still put it on the counter. Then they have the audacity to put their hand out when they need their change. So what do? I put their change on the counter too, right in front of their hand. Petty, I know, but it makes me feel better, and if you work in customer service, you know that you get your wins where you can get M, because even if you don't think it ruins your day, it really does. I do the same sort of thing when I greet them and they don't say hello. For example, me, hey there, how are ya? Shithead, no response, or could I get a bag? Me, this gonna be it for you today? Shithead, no response. Anyone else got any other petty ways of dealing with customers? Edit. Forgot to add, I leave all the dirty, nasty, shitty, grimy, patient zero inducing bills aside for people who are rude or pay with a huge bill and a small total. Story 7. Tisk, you shouldn't run red lights, naughty. Many years ago I was a software engineer in sunny California, livin' the dream in Silicon Valley. Fries was still a thing, Google was new, St. James Infirmary hadn't burned down yet, and commuting was a chore, just like today. If you've ever been, you know that everybody drives, nothing is nearby, and if you have a job you're going to be doing the daily commute. If you're on the road a lot, like I was, everything works much better when people are nice and follow the rules, and I did my best while trying not to get too peeved at people who weren't. Breathe calm. This particular day was mid-morning, sunny, blue skies, and I was waiting at a red light, along with 20ish other cars. Since I'd just missed the light, I was first at the line in the center lane of 3, and while waiting I was just looking around and I spotted a California Highway Patrol car to my right, third car back. It's good thing to notice, not that I would ever drive faster than the limit, no siree. The light's finally about to change and somebody is coming fast from the other direction in the left turn lane, and two things are obvious: they're going to turn left in front of us, and they're not going to make the light. Sigh. Breathe. Calm. But the moment/instant the light turns green, the first start to move forward. Not far, just a few feet, because I'm watching this car, and as they go flying by in front of us I make a show of hitting the brakes and honking my horn, to warn the other drivers, to make sure that the CHP officer noticed. I then proceeded on my way, and I saw in my rearview mirror that black and white turn around the traffic island and head after our naughty red light runner. And calm returned. And if you're curious, 37.315831 minus 121.963886 is where I was. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.